Through the years, there have been so many Stephen King adaptations. You got Pet Sematary, you have the It movies, you have Green Mile. I mean, the list goes on and on. We even had that terrible Dark Tower movie. And when you get a Stephen King adaptation, sometimes they're very hit or miss. Sometimes they are phenomenal and you absolutely love them. Sometimes they're a tad bit disappointing. And sometimes they're just god awful and definitely either totally disservice the source material or just generally maybe that just wasn't Stephen King's best day. But I'm here to tell you that The Long Walk is not just one of the best movies of this year. I would go as far to say it might be top 3 best Stephen King adaptations of all time. What's going on, buddy? Welcome back to a brand new movie review. Today I'm going to be discussing The Long Walk, a very, very tough movie to watch, and one of those films that I highly recommend just straight off the bat. If you are interested in this movie, you should go see it. If you were a little bit hesitant to see the movie, you should go see it. But it is one of those films that is, again, bleak and one that you may not want to go back and watch. It's one of those that you fall in love with, but not one of those films that you're like, I would love to rewatch that every week, because of how damn depressing the film can be. But for people who don't know, The Long Walk is about a group of teenage boys who compete in an annual contest known as The Long Walk, where they must maintain a certain walking speed or they get shot. Now, this takes place in like a dystopian future, and there's about 50 boys in here who are selected from each state. It has an amazing cast like Cooper Hoffman, David Johnson, and of course, Mark Hamill, and many, many more. There's so many talented kids in here, and I've been pretty excited for this. I love Francis Lawrence as a director. I will also go as far as say I think this is his best film, and that says a lot compared to how much I love his Hunger Games films, specifically Catching Fire and the last one he just did. I also am a massive fan of Red Sparrow. There's just a lot of greatness all kind of wrapped in here. You even have the writer being J.T. Molinier, who is a phenomenal creative mind. And yeah, I think for the most part, the way and the reason that I can really give off to The Long Walk is it's a visceral experience. Something that like I would really compare to like the experience that I felt watching Warfare earlier this year, where it was just a film that attacks all your senses, from the sound design to what visually is happening on screen. It very much gives you this goosebump and nerve-wracking induced experience that is entirely terrifying. And The Long Walk itself is, in a way, kind of a similar situation, but I think is more of an emotionally tiding and destructive visceral experience that you'll feel. Through the bleakness, through every single thing that you see, to even like the first kid that dies in here. That is one thing that was very shocking to me in this movie, is how brutal The Long Walk is. Yes, you would expect in a movie where only one person can be the winner that a lot of people are going to get shot in this film. I knew it was R-rated. I know it's based off Stephen King. And we were going into this, and I was thinking, okay, they're going to shoot him in the head, and like that's it. And it's like, no. You see someone get shot, and the bullet might go like through their jaw and like rupture the jaw. And the brutality in there just adds to it all. And then to see the reaction to the other kids in that sequence just overall breaks you down. And the film continues to break you down in all those elements, especially as you start to care about every single one of the people. So I'm very excited to talk about The Long Walk, as you can't tell. I absolutely love this movie. I think it is an absolute incredible film. I've really gone back and forth on like what is my favorite Stephen King adaptations, and I think The Long Walk is definitely one of those right up there, like top three, and that's saying a lot. So jumping right into this and really jumping into my pros, the number one thing I want to talk about is the performances, because I think that is one of the things that really helps the film with everything. You could have fantastic vibes of the film, you could have fantastic direction, you could even have a great script, but if your performances are not elevating all of that, then this film could easily become boring, which is to say that the pacing for an hour and 48-minute movie where people are just walking in a straight line, and very much so just trying to keep this same pace, they're able to fluidly move that pacing in such a dynamic way. Never really cuts to flashbacks or other things that are happening. You might have visions here and there, but for the most part, it keeps your attention all the way through. And that was something that I was a little worried about the film, was the pacing. But by the time I actually checked the clock to see what time it was, there was only like 10 minutes left of the movie, and I was actually genuinely shocked. As I said, I was talking about those performances. Those are the reasons that it's elevated. And I think it's because every single kid in here stands out on their own in some way, shape, and form, to the point where if someone dies, you emotionally feel something. You feel the same thing that the other kids are feeling. There's one kid in here that my wife doesn't cry at a lot of movies, but I look over at her and she is vividly sobbing because you know this kid's about to die. He's been walking for like 300 miles straight and his body's shutting down. And it is genuinely depressing to see. And there's different elements like that. You find your favorite from the jokes and the brotherly bond. And some of this film's kind of been compared to Stand By Me mixed with the Hunger Games. And I can kind of see that to a certain degree, mainly because of the friendship that you have between the kids. And in a way, The Long Walk is a coming of age story for some. And at the same time, it's a coming of like maturity to others in terms of like what is their reason for doing this event. And that is one thing that I was really taken back by. And I think, again, those performances just add to that. But specifically, I have to shout out Cooper Hoffman and David Johnson. Cooper Hoffman, I really loved him in Licorice Pizza, but I think this just is a whole other level and showcases like the talents that he does have that I can't wait to see in future things. And we assumed he was going to be talented. I mean, his father was Philip Seymour Hoffman, rest in peace, incredible actor, but Cooper's just kind of stepping into that role, but in his own way, and I absolutely loved it. Same thing goes for David Johnson, who I have been championing ever since I saw Rylane. That is a very underrated movie if you've not seen. Then, of course, a lot of people loved him in Alien Romulus last year, and this is hands down his best performance, like not even like close. Every degree of element that he puts in here is incredible. His chemistry with everyone is amazing, but his charm and wit, it just adds to such a flame that I loved. Give a couple more shout outs. I thought Charlie Plummer was fantastic. Ben Wang was also great. Shwa Ojik, and of course, the last one I really want to mention is Mark Hamill. Now, while they don't develop the Major all too much, I think the Major is a terrifying character and very much, in a sense, the game show host for what's going on here. And I think Hamill's voice, his presence was immaculate. And it's crazy to see in two different Stephen King adaptations that we've gotten this year. We've gotten The Life of Chuck and, of course, now The Long Walk. And he starred in both, giving two completely different performances, but two incredible performances that I absolutely loved. And it's been great to see Mark Hamill kind of do this in the last couple of years within his career. That said, though, I think, as I mentioned, how much I love that cast. It is the vibe of the film that I think is the thing that a lot of people will come away talking about other than the performances. And that is completely set from the script and specifically the direction from Francis Lawrence. This film has a very wild tone to it because in the most depressing manners and the most bleak aspects of what is going on in here and the death and the murder and everything that you're seeing in here, there's sometimes humor and jokes that you don't know if you should be laughing at or if these elements are just terrible to watch. But as you see through the film and you maybe get that small little chuckle, you feel like you are actually walking with these kids. And that is the biggest thing, is that this film makes you feel like you are in the experience with them, unable to catch your breath, unable, feeling that tension of your foot hitting the ground. But at the same time, even through the most sadistic and brutal moments of life, there is levity to it, and these kids find that levity, especially early on in the film. And that is one thing that I really love. Now, the levity is very, very minuscule. I really want to put that out there. But it is something that I think adds to the tone. And it's a thin line that they were able to walk, and it never felt out of place. And mainly because of how good the direction is here. Which, again, as I mentioned, I think this might be Francis Lawrence's best film. It might be my personal favorite at least, but what he was able to develop here in terms of the pacing and the vibe is what I think really holds this film to its own, and the world that he's able to build up in just small little conversations so you understand what is kind of going on. Obviously, there's an added layer that you would love to kind of dive into a little bit deeper in here, but it never feels like it actually has to. It feels surface level enough, but also like very detailed oriented. And I think that's a testament to Stephen King's novel, of course, but also a testament to J.T. Molyneux as the writer. And I think with the way that Francis Lawrence is able to develop that, and again, pace out the film perfectly so it doesn't feel lacking or boring. That is one thing that I truly loved from The Long Walk. And again, it never felt long, it felt terrifying. And I can't emphasize that enough, is that this is a visceral experience. You feel that. You feel all the pain that these kids are feeling. You feel the pain of what their parents would be feeling seeing that one of their kids died. And I don't know if that's just because I'm a father now and I could never imagine like my son being placed into something in here, but if he were, like, it would be one of the most terrifying aspects of my life. That is the biggest key piece to this all, is the bleakness, the sound design, the gunshots. Even though they're very far and few between, when you hear them go off, it very much feels for a shocking moment. There are shocking moments here where people just give up and you're like, oh my God. And again, what you see the actors relate to and how they're reacting, right, you're right alongside them. If you see a character's jaw drop or not want to look because they're like absolutely just nervous and scared, you are the same exact way doing the same exact thing. I would look over at my wife and have my jaw dropped, and she'd look up at the screen and see that character's jaws drop. You are just all into that visceral experience, and this is such a great movie to see in a packed theater because like people were reacting vividly, and I love seeing that and hearing that because it adds to everything going on in the movie. Before we get any further into this review, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, comment down below your guys' thoughts. I just did a ton of movie reviews last week for The Conjuring, Last Ride, Splitsville, and of course we even have so much more this week. I genuinely love The Long Walk, and I hope you guys give it a shot. This movie is not going to be for the faint of heart. It is a tough watch, which might be like, I mean, before I jumped into this review, my score was around a 4.5 out of 5, but I'm starting to lean towards the way that I think The Long Walk might be perfect. It might be depressing, it's daunting, it's bleak, it's brutal, and most of all, it's a visceral experience that will not be forgotten. But with incredible direction from Lawrence, he's able to take King's material and destroy you with an emotional experience that will haunt your mind long after the journey. So with all that said, I'm going to give The Long Walk a 5 out of 5. This is one of the best films of the year. I highly, highly recommend you support this movie in theaters. I think this is a movie worth seeing in theaters. Genuinely, I don't think it'll have the same effect at home, but that's up to you. Genuinely, thank you so much again for watching this as well. So make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, comment down below your guys' thoughts, and of course, until next time, stay classy.